should have turned on the light. That thought keeps replaying in my head like a warning whispered too late, like thunder after the strike. Because that night, in the dark hum of the apartment, I let someone into my bed. Someone I thought I knew. Her scent was familiar. Her hands even more so. And for a moment I melted into the illusion, into the heat of her breath against my neck, the way her fingers curled softly into my waist, like she'd done 100 times before. I whispered her name. She didn't answer. But I didn't stop. Not until her mouth found mine in the shadows. And I knew. This wasn't her. And yet I didn't pull away. Before you judge me, before you start typing out what you think I should have done, let me take you back. Because this wasn't just a one-night mistake. This was years of tension, denial, late-night conversations that drifted too close to the edge, and looks that lasted a heartbeat too long. And one night, the wrong body in the right bed cracked something open in me I didn't know I'd been holding shut. Let me explain. Her name is Chloe. My best friend. My secret undoing. We've lived together for 2 years. Sharing everything from tequila shots to heartbreaks, late-night movies, and whispered dreams under throw blankets that still smelled like popcorn and lotion. There's a particular kind of closeness that happens when you live with someone like that. Boundaries blur. You learn their rhythms when they take their showers, how they hum when they're brushing their teeth, the way they curl up on the couch with their legs tucked underneath them like they're folding into themselves. I don't remember the exact moment my gaze started lingering too long. Maybe it was the night she walked out of her room in just that oversized shirt, the one with the faded band logo and nothing underneath. She didn't even notice the way it clung to her thighs or how the collar slipped over one shoulder. But I did. We were watching some stupid movie, something about a haunted house. I couldn't focus. All I could feel was the heat of her thigh brushing mine and the soft scent of coconut shampoo. And then, half a glass of wine in, she turned to me with that smirk. "I dare you to tell me your dirtiest secret," she said like it was a joke. I laughed. "You first." She rolled her eyes. "You always deflect." She didn't press. She never did. But her gaze lingered, searching, waiting. And in that moment I almost told her. I almost confessed that my dirtiest secret was her. Not in a crude way. Not in the way strangers might imagine. But in the quiet, unshakable way I'd catch myself staring when she wasn't looking. In the way I memorized the shape of her mouth when she spoke. In the way I'd imagined more than once what her skin might feel like under my hands if she'd let me. But I didn't say any of that. 'Cause Chloe liked men. Loud, cocky, gym-going men who left their cologne on her pillow and broke her heart 2 weeks later. And I was the safe one. The roommate. The best friend. The one who held her hair when she cried, helped her stalk their Instagrams, told her she deserved better. So I kept the secret tucked between my ribs like a blade I never dared draw. Until that night. Until the knock on my door long after midnight. It was past 1 a.m. when I heard it. 3 soft knocks like hesitation wrapped in wood. I was half asleep, the sheets tangled around my legs, one arm flung across the pillow where I'd imagined her head might rest. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. Chloe had gone out earlier, dressed in something that made me ache with jealousy, saying she was meeting just a friend. I didn't ask questions. I never did. The knock came again. I got up, heart kicking harder with each step toward the door. I didn't turn on the lights. Maybe part of me didn't want to know. Maybe I was hoping. Maybe I already knew. The door creaked open and I saw her, or who I thought was her. Hair messy from the wind. A hoodie zipped halfway up. Legs bare, one strap of a tank top slipping off her shoulder. She didn't say a word, just stepped inside like the space already belonged to her. My throat tightened. My body betrayed me. I stepped back and she followed. No hello. No smile. Just silence thick with static. She walked past me into the bedroom, not hurried, not hesitant, just certain. And something about that certainty made me lose my grip on logic. Her hand brushed mine. It was like a spark leaping from skin to skin, tiny, electric, undeniable. And in that moment I let go of reason. Because I wanted it to be her. Every nerve in my body screamed yes. Even as my mind whispered wait. She slipped into the bed like it was a memory. Pulled the covers over herself. Waited. And I followed. I couldn't see her face. Just the curve of her back, the rise and fall of breath. I whispered, "Chloe." She didn't answer. But she didn't stop me when my hand found hers. When I leaned in slowly, so slowly, drawn by something deeper than lust, a hunger that had lived too long in silence. Her breath met mine. Warm. Close. Our lips touched barely. A question, a prayer, a dare. And when she kissed me back, everything unraveled. Only later, when the air cooled and the silence turned heavy, did I realize what I'd done, and who it wasn't. I didn't scream. I didn't recoil. I just froze. The air turned sharp. My thoughts scattered. I pulled back slowly like a diver breaking the surface, lungs full of something that wasn't quite air, wasn't quite relief. And then she spoke. A voice I knew. But not Chloe's. Soft. Deeper. With a tremble she tried to hide. I'm sorry. I thought you knew. I blinked. Swallowed. Tried to make sense of the silhouette in the dark. The girl curled in my bed like she belonged there. It was Emma. Chloe's cousin. The one who'd been staying with us for the past week after her messy breakup. The quiet one with the book always in her lap. Headphones always in her ears. The one I never really noticed or maybe tried not to. I backed away. Emma. I thought. I know, she whispered. But. You didn't stop. My stomach flipped. Not from shame. From something worse, how much I didn't want to regret it. Because the truth is, when her lips were on mine, something in me had opened. Not just a longing for Chloe, but something stranger, deeper. A curiosity. A pull. Emma sat up, her hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She looked right at me, no apology, no fear. Just knowing. I've seen the way you look at her, she said. But you've never looked at me like that. I didn't know what to say. My chest was a storm. She leaned closer, her voice barely audible. Would it be so wrong? If you wanted both? Something in me cracked open. Because the truth I hadn't told anyone, not even myself, was that this fantasy, this triangle of tension, had been living in the background for months. I'd wondered what it would feel like to be desired like that. Not just by Chloe but by someone else, someone who saw through the mask I wore around her. Emma wasn't a mistake. She was a mirror. She saw the thing in me I kept buried beneath best friend smiles and careful silences. And now that it had been touched, tasted, I couldn't pretend it didn't exist. I didn't sleep that night. Emma stayed. Not touching me. Just lying there. Close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off her skin like an unanswered question. And I lay in the dark, heart pounding. The image of her face burned into my memory. Eyes open, waiting for judgment that never came. I wanted to say something. I wanted to ask her why. Why me? Why now? Why did it feel so right? But the words lodged in my throat. Because somewhere deep inside I already knew. She wasn't pretending to be Chloe. She hadn't even acted like her. That was me, my own projections, my fantasy wrapping around her like fog. I had wanted to be touched. I had wanted to be chosen. And in that moment, it hadn't mattered by whom. The truth was brutal, unforgiving. But underneath that shame was something far more dangerous. Desire. Emma stirred beside me. I felt the mattress shift. Her fingers brushed my forearm, light as breath. She didn't speak. Didn't move closer. She just stayed there, grounding me. And my body betrayed me all over again. It wasn't about Chloe anymore. It was about what Emma unlocked. The forbidden appeal of being seen by someone who wasn't supposed to matter. The rush of being wanted not because I was safe but because I was dangerous. I turned toward her in the dark. My voice barely a whisper. Why did you come into my room? She hesitated. Then. Because I heard you say her name in your sleep. And I wanted it to be mine. Silence cracked open between us. Her confession wasn't just bold. It was surgical. Because that had been my secret fantasy all along. Not just Chloe choosing me, but someone else wanting to steal that place. Someone who would take the risk. Cross the line. I felt her hand slide into mine, tentative, trembling slightly. I know I'm not her, she whispered. But I've wanted you since the day I moved in. That was the moment I stopped lying to myself. This wasn't about mistaken identity anymore. This was about surrender. The next morning, Chloe walked into the kitchen like nothing had happened. Still in her oversized hoodie, her hair pulled up in that lazy twist she did when she didn't care how she looked, and somehow looked even better. She poured coffee like she always did. She yawned, leaned against the counter, glanced at me over the rim of her mug. But something in her gaze lingered a second too long. "Sleep okay?" she asked casually. I nodded, but my voice caught in my throat. "Yeah. You?" She shrugged. "Didn't get in till late." "Emma still asleep?" Her name dropped like a pebble into a still lake. I froze. Emma had slipped out of my bed around 5 m. Quietly, without a word. Just a glance over her shoulder before she disappeared down the hallway. I hadn't seen her since. "Yeah," I muttered and looked away. Chloe didn't press. She never did. But her silence felt loud. She sat across from me at the table, curled her legs beneath her, sipping her coffee slowly. Her eyes scanned my face with a softness that was almost unbearable. "I missed talking to you last night," she said, her voice softer now. "I was going to come in after I got home. But your door was closed." There it was. The unspoken weight. The question tucked into her tone like a blade in velvet. She knew something had shifted, and I couldn't tell if it was jealousy or something worse. Because here's the truth I'd been avoiding. Chloe had always known I wanted her. She let me orbit her. Let me fall asleep beside her on the couch. Let me brush her hair out of her face. Let me love her just enough to keep me hungry. But she never gave me more. Until that morning. She leaned across the table. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Did something happen?" I looked at her. My pulse roared in my ears. And in that moment I didn't know what scared me more. Her knowing or her not knowing. Because part of me wanted to confess everything. Part of me wanted to watch her eyes darken with possession. Part of me wanted her to finally feel what I'd felt for years. That electric fear of losing something you never thought you'd want until someone else wanted it too. I opened my mouth. Then closed it. She smiled just slightly, but it didn't reach her eyes. And I realized something. She didn't need me to say it. She already knew. Later that night I found Chloe on the balcony. It was past midnight again. Something about that hour felt like truth couldn't hide there. The city buzzed below us, but we were high enough up that it all just sounded like wind. She was barefoot, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands, a glass of wine half finished in her grip. She didn't turn when I stepped outside. "You ever wonder," she said, staring out into the dark, "what would happen if we stopped pretending?" I didn't answer right away. Because I didn't know what we were pretending anymore. That we were just friends? That she didn't notice the way I looked at her? That I didn't notice the way she let me? She took a slow sip. "Emma's been different since that night." My breath caught. She turned to face me. Her gaze didn't flinch. "And so have you." The silence between us stretched taut like wire. I stepped closer, instinct more than intention. "Chloe." But she stopped me. Not with her voice, with her eyes. Soft. Dark. Unreadable. "I'm not mad," she said. I thought if I kept things the way they were, I'd never lose you." My chest twisted. She set the glass down on the railing, arms folding tight across her chest. "But maybe I already have." I stepped beside her, close enough that our arms touched. She didn't move away. "You haven't lost me," I said quietly. She looked up at me. And for the first time the wall between us cracked. "I was jealous," she whispered. "Not because it was Emma, but because it wasn't me." My breath hitched. Her confession didn't explode. It landed softly, like a snowflake with the weight of an avalanche behind it. I searched her face. "Then why didn't you ever?" She smiled, bitter and beautiful. "Because I didn't want to ruin us. And I didn't know if you wanted me or just the fantasy of me." My hands trembled slightly. I reached out, brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Her breath caught. "This isn't a fantasy," I said. "It never was." And then she did something I'll never forget. She stepped in, pressed her forehead against mine, let her hands rest at my waist, and whispered, "Then stay." She didn't ask me to explain. She didn't ask about Emma. She just asked me to stay. And I did. But what happened next wasn't simple. Because sometimes when a door opens, it leads to places you never imagined. I stayed. Not just on the balcony. Not just for the night. I stayed in something much more dangerous. The space where all the masks had fallen, where nothing was neat or labeled anymore. Chloe didn't kiss me right away. She stood with her arms around me, forehead to mine, breathing in sync like we were learning how to be still together. Like she knew the slightest move would shatter the fragile calm that had taken years to arrive. But then her fingers slid up my back, slow, hesitant, and I felt it. The beginning of a kiss that hadn't happened yet but already lived inside us. When our lips finally met, it wasn't rushed. It wasn't wild. It was relief. Like we'd been holding our breath for years. Her mouth moved with a softness that made my heart ache. Not because she didn't want me, but because she did. And it scared her. Just like it scared me. She tasted like red wine in midnight. Her hands pulled me closer, and something cracked open in my chest. That kind of closeness, it wasn't lust. It wasn't even heat. It was gravity. We kissed like we'd already broken the rules. Because we had. And that was the beautiful, terrifying part. We didn't need permission anymore. Later, we lay in bed, tangled and quiet in moonlight. Her leg draped over mine. Her fingers drawing lazy circles on my stomach. I asked her if she hated me. She laughed, soft, almost sad. No. I think I just finally understand you. Then her voice dropped. Did you feel something with her? I hesitated. But I didn't lie. Yes, I whispered. But it wasn't what I feel with you. She nodded. That was all. No accusation. No tears. And maybe that was the most surprising part of all, how right it felt to be honest. We didn't make promises that night. Didn't define what we were. We just were. And that was enough. Because sometimes desire doesn't live in straight lines. Sometimes love shows up in the places you least expect. In a cousin's mistake, in a balcony at midnight, in a kiss that took years to arrive. And sometimes it takes the wrong person in the dark to show you the right one was always standing in the light. Thanks for watching. If this story hit you in the heart or anywhere else, leave a comment below. Would you have chosen Chloe? Or Emma? Or both? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more stories like this. Raw, real, and just the right kind of wrong.